At SCI, we're not really doing a lot of low-no code tools at this point in time. For us in this space, one of our focus areas in accelerating change is our data management evolution, as you know, as we've talked, Geoff, as it's a foundational piece of our digital transformation. And one of the goals in the short to medium term for us is the introduction and development of self-service BI and analytics. In order to enable this, we're working on transforming of analytics ready data into business ready data, while also making data standardized, shareable, and reusable for a future variety of different data products like Power BI, Tableau, AI, ML, what have you. So a big piece of this puzzle is analytics governance and setting guardrails. Being able to strike that balance for us between empowering that self-service data product creation while maintaining high level of security and quality. Implementing for us active governance and baking those policies into everyday workflows is how we aim to kind of set the guardrails to empower our data users at the various levels of expertise with that confidence to build and maintain high quality data products. So a key first step is data source governance, setting clear rules for how data gets used, modified, and stored, such as making our data lineage metadata really accessible for teams, every team, and their day-to-day business applications so they can consume data that they trust. And then it's obviously, how do we blend this into what we've done on data access governance and other areas, so only the right people have access to the right data, enabling them to do their jobs.
Very much aligned with what Ross said, but when we look at the continuing transfer of digital skills into the client departments and the citizen development, we have a framework of the intersecting circles between security, compliance, and privacy. Our business is highly compliance driven by our Global 2000 customers and the governments we service. So, we use frameworks to sort of meet that intersecting circle, frameworks like NIST 853, ISO 27001, and of course, the executive order that Biden put out, 14028, around the secure bill of materials. So, so that really drives a lot of our compliance. But one part that is really helping us a lot is the use of event architecture. So if you look at the penultimate example of event architecture is a swipe of a credit card or the tap of a credit card, and you look at what that removed from a privacy, security, and compliance issue that we had in the past. And using event architecture thinking, we looked through all of our internal ecosystems and our partner ecosystems and created microservices around how can we execute events in a similar fashion to remove them from hands, feet, eyes, and have them done in the background. And then looking forward on doing that, how do we leverage event architecture or ecosystems like Google Arc and Confluence, et cetera, and to actually have them help us pre-build those, because we're only going to meet security, privacy, and compliance by modularization and keeping privacy data in one area and not through the entire ecosystem to ensure we can meet privacy, but also everything else around compliance is going to grow. So we've got this continuous rise of compliance in our world. And the only way for us to meet them as CIOs is to think of them as events like that credit card swipe, and how can we implement event architecture beyond microservices where we have to write and maintain and leverage an ecosystem to do that.
We have an entire generation that is leaving the workforce. And then we have a whole new generation that is entering the workforce. And that generation grew up with these. And so they're very technically savvy. Whatever framework that we put in place, it needs to be flexible enough for that citizen developer to go build whatever they need for their business. Because at the end of the day, you don't have enough resources to typically handle hundreds. So you go through a prioritization framework of some sort, and then you resource appropriately. What if you're that customer or that user of IT services that's just outside of that line? Now you're not getting service. And so the framework that we're trying to put in place is right in line with what Ross is talking about, of making data available, making sure it's cleansed, making sure that there's good integrity to that information, making sure that we have the security in place as well, whether we have to be SOC 2 compliant, whether we need to be following the NIST framework for certain applications and to be aligned with our overall portfolio. At the end of the day, what we're going towards, which we have not put in place yet though, is putting together a no-code platform where people can just go and develop. And what we have to be mindful of is creating an environment where they can play to the point where they can create value on their own without IT being a barrier, without us saying, yep, we reviewed it and we're good to go. Because at the end of the day, that is another red tape that's inhibiting the business from growing. And although it looks like it's good governance, and it is from an IT technology perspective, it actually could be hindering the business. And from somebody who's coming from the business, and I was shadow IT for 10 years of my career, and coming into IT, I see now the storm that I created. But also when I was in the business, IT didn't listen and wasn't able to support my needs. And in this day and age, one of the key risks that we need to be aware of is not supporting our customers. How many people in our organizations are supportive of citizen development? And that's a cultural risk that we need to be hyper aware of.
We've got a multifaceted approach to our talent strategy, and I think we've done actually a pretty great job, through gig workers, contractors, next-gen talent, leveraging existing talent. I'll focus on an actual couple of technology solutions and options out there. So, I've always heard from the business, want things faster, want things cheaper. So a long time aspiration is really to enable self-serve and get tools to the business for them to build. So, and then with the hope that you get agility and more value being driven. I think that should be a key guiding principle, whether it's in your core system capability, data analytics, digital content management, and now we've got all these low-code platforms out there, and things like Power Apps within the Microsoft stack are really great. But I think it's important for IT to establish standards and guardrails with building these environments before and capabilities before giving it to the business. And really what ends up happening, in my opinion, in my experience, is like a hybrid model and a close partnership model for this kind of low-code citizen development. The other strategy that we're deploying a lot right now, I'm in this feels like a continuous transitional state architecture, is really trying to leverage things like robotic process automation. And what we do with there is really automate end-to-end operational activities, create these digital workforce or bots. And really what we're trying to do is gain cycles back for the business so that we can focus on more value add work and hopefully some digital transformational initiatives. So the other problem I do see now is the market's changing. There's so many solutions out there, and there's a myriad of vendors and solutions coming at us at all time. But I think if you stick with the strategy and go for that self-serve function, it goes a long way.
On top of upskilling and reskilling our technology team, we're also deploying a strategy which is wait for it, which is a low-code, no-code strategy. And I'm very excited actually hearing all of you saying, repeating this topic, and it kind of reinforced that we're on the right path. Because part of it is, every IT has such a huge backlog, and if you can reduce those backlogs to empowering the end users to, work on this stuff using the Power Platform, to me, not only do you empower them, they have a much better sense of owning that. It also saves us time so that we can use the time to do things smarter. And on top of it, one of the pet peeves that our end users always asking is they want a lot of capability on their mobile, right? Because, Marvin talked about, our generations, they're so used to their cell phone, they want to do things in their cell phone. Guess what? Power Platform also kind of out of the box, whatever that you're building, you can do everything on your mobile already. So it is, to me, you don't have to reinvent the wheel on hiring a mobile developer, but just out of the box, you get everything. But of course, that comes with risk, because we just talked about that. We actually created the Center of Excellency. We also opened a Yammer group to market this Power Platform, which also funded champions, trying to nurture the mindset of the new era of the citizen developer, which is Janet mentioned that. We also kind of promote building your dashboard in one day, building your workflow in one day, and really hoping that our end user can embrace on that. Because at the end of the day, if our IT can focus on the complicated stuff that we have the skill for, and I think this is one of the ways that we can address the skills gap that we see.
What we introduced in our job architecture, we introduced product managers so that they can oversee the life cycle of applications. And that kind of shifted actually business to the right, because product managers are on the right side. And that helps us because it improves ability to support growth objectives. We know directly from the business what is needed and what is wanted. We help them, but their roadmap actually and strategy comes for each application now from the business. And then we work with the team to understand which skills are needed on our side to help further move the application towards the expressed strategy and roadmap. Also, we didn't introduce already citizen developers in some processes. For example, we usually have a huge backlog of development for reports, for data to be ready for these reports, right? And we allowed business after proper security and infrastructure and other SLAs considerations to use Alteryx as an alternative tool to Databricks to massage the data, to prepare basic workflows around working with the data, and even preparing the end files according to third-party standards, how they want to receive it, right? So we are also looking to further introduce citizen development into our technology development procedures. At the same time, we are also introducing further shift left for IT themselves, so that we are involved in the business opportunities earlier, way before than usually in our understanding of development lifecycle, right? Our enterprise architecture, for example, is very business focused to help business effectively digitize processes, to catch the opportunities right away where we can improve or replace business processes. And so is the IT as well.
We've been growing 300% year over year for the last couple of years. So we are in this momentum of acquisition, but how to scale and how to service at the same portion. Since we're driving a paradigm shift, we had to just create our own framework. So we created a framework called CodeOps. And the reason why is the software development application lifecycle and how you hire and how you get people to think, it's a little bit too linear. And now we're thinking about a hybrid world, hybrid teams, hybrid development, hybrid tools, hybrid ways of doing things. So we just think like a new world needs a new framework. So we created CodeOps in order to effectively have people remove the legacy mind shift and then get into, if you want to do citizen development, right, is where does that live and how does that live? And what does hybrid development, what does the new mediums that are coming, whether it's everything as a service, if you're looking at IoT enablement, if you're looking at VR, AR, that paradigms, and you have to be a little bit more flexible for that. So as we start rethinking about code reusability, AI and all that, is that we had to create a CodeOps framework so we can onboard partners better, we can onboard our customers in a better way, we can onboard our developers and our employees, no matter where they are in this technical or non-technical. So that's the way that we address that, so we can get people coming in and then optimizing their experience in a new way. And that's what was critical to us for our success in order for us to scale. If we kept on going the same way, we would break.